for this post, I'm going to be talking about the criticism against Bill Nichols and his 6 modes. Bill Nichols is an American film critic who's also known as the founder of study in documentary film. Nichols identifies 6 different documentary modes. These are poetic, expository, observational, participatory, reflexive and performative. Nichols came up with this theory in 2001 and points out the characteristics of a given mode function as a dominant in a given film, but they do not dictate or determine every aspect of its organisation. However, some people disagree and criticise him for the 6 modes because there was significant overlapping within documentary features. Some of the people who disagree with this is someone called Stella Bruzzi. She's a professor of film studies at the University of London. She created her own book which is called New Documentary, A Critical Introduction, and this explains everything about how she's against Bill Nichols. One of the quotes she used was that all types of documentary have existed at different times. They have often mixed styles too. Documentaries can never be the real world because it never exactly happened at the same time, and something, like for example the camera, interfered to come in the way of the actual live event. And the result of this collision between both the apparatus of the camera and the subject, what's happening, constitutes a documentary. Documentaries are performative acts whose truth comes into being only at that moment of time. Another theory and theorist who goes against Bill Nichols' 6 modes is someone called Steve Barnett, and his theory is Disneyfication. He claims that documentaries are dumbed down for the public so it's easier to understand, and because it's starting to become the norm as it's easier and cheaper to produce. Documentaries are meant to be more factual and not as much entertaining. However, over the years they've become more like feature films, so instead of them giving us knowledge, they've started becoming entertaining and something that would just switch on the TV rather than having to use our brains. They've also become more emotional in such a sense because they've started to have a narrative structure. He also believes that it lessens the value of the documentary because it's something that doesn't really have much effort put into it, because as it's cheaper to produce and it's just more entertaining for the people to watch, so therefore it lessens their value. He also looked at the fact that documentaries weren't as serious and intimate as they were previously, because now most TV companies and actual channels want something that will bring them higher ratings, and because the world is changing and adapting, more people prefer the dumbed down, entertaining, more relaxing kind of documentaries rather than the factual information to watch. So both channels, to get more money, they want higher ratings rather than the factual documentaries. And an example of this was Sir Trevor McDonald. Another person that I've researched who has his own theory is John Grierson. He's a pioneering Scottish documentary filmmaker, and he's best known as like the father figure of British and Canadian documentaries. He mainly produced documentaries within the 1930s, so most of his documentaries went straight to the cinema rather than the TV, because obviously TVs weren't made yet. And one of his quotes were, "In documentary we deal with the actual and in one sense the real, but the really real, if I may use that phrase, is something deeper than that. The one which counts in the end is the interpretation, which is profound." Grierson says that a documentary is never real, it's only interpretation of the real, because everyone's different and everyone interprets like what we see differently. So if I was to see something in a documentary, I may see it and take it differently than someone else, and that's what he's trying to say. And so a documentary can't be split into 6 modes because it depends on everyone's interpretation. And the things which would affect the interpretation is obviously the person and the different representations like age, gender, ethnicity, lifestyle and any others. From further research I've done, I found more theorists who have their own opinion on the 6 modes, and they have specific quotes. John Corner in 1995 said, "What distinguishes a documentary is the portrayal of sound and images of actuality." Diane Thames, "I think the truth is what you actually come away with at the end of seeing a film. I mean, it's your truth that you're seeing. Everybody who makes a film is putting their own truth on screen." Peter Mayer, "Documentaries present facts about a subject using real persons or places, then creatively interpret or comment on these realities and people's concerns about them." So my personal opinion for the 6 modes is that I don't actually agree with them, because obviously those aspects are there, but I don't think you can specifically split all the documentaries up into like those separate modes, because as other theorists have said, they overlap, so how can there be just 6 modes? I also agree with Disneyfication, which was Steve Barnett's theory, because that's what people have done nowadays. People like the dumbed down sort of videos, and if you like look from previously to now, if someone said the word documentary, stereotypically that would be something factual, something which would like increase our knowledge. However, nowadays we've got programs such as Educating Essex and Benefit Street. Obviously they give us an insight of the world, but it's more on the entertaining side rather than, oh yes, factual. So obviously being dumbed down isn't necessarily a bad thing. It is entertaining to the public. However, seeing as like education is moving on, I think that we still need them. I think we need like a mix of both dumbed down and factual, because documentaries stereotypically, as I said previously, is really informative, but nowadays it's just gone downhill. So I don't agree with Bill Nichols, but I definitely agree with Disneyfication and how like the media is being dumbed down for the public, because at the end of the day the producers mainly want the money. It's cheaper for them to create an entertaining film, because when it comes to factual they need all the facts, they need experts, etc. But with a cheaper film you don't need that, and it's all about, now in this current day and age, it's more about the ratings and seeing how many highest ratings you get and the amount of public you can watch your videos, and the only way to do that is by dumbing the videos down and making it more entertaining for the public. So for a conclusion for this video, I believe that Bill Nichols' 6 modes, they are there, the aspects of them, but they do overlap. So I definitely agree with Disneyfication.